Other Altars by Craig Lockwood. Other Altars, Roots and Realities of Cultic and Satanic Ritual Abuse and Multiple Personality Disorder. This is a great kind of overview of the problem or phenomenon, or however you want to look at it, of ritual abuse. This is one of the earlier books on this that came out, I believe, early 90s, like 1993, I think, is when this was published. Yep, 1993. And I don't know much about Craig Lockwood and if he's written much else other than this, but I do find it interesting. He comes right out in the beginning and kind of establishes his position as someone who's very concerned about this, but also someone who's approaching this as a Wiccan. I believe he is a practicing Wiccan and wants to make sure that people understand that his Wiccan faith is not involved in the ritual abuse aspect of what he's looking into. So that's an interesting angle and I think that's also an important angle for people who approach this thinking this is just people looking into this are right-wing Christian extremists finding witches behind every door. And you'll see that a lot. There's a lot of authors that dig into this that have no Christian axe to grind, as it were, but just people that are genuinely concerned about child abuse issues, and then they stumble into this and are rightly horrified. This is a relatively easy book to get. This is one of those that last time I checked is, I think, still readily available, probably on Amazon or whatever, but obviously it's older, probably out of print. But really good overview of a lot of cases. Again, this is all stuff that was written early on in, really when the internet was, 1993, when the internet was basically non-existent in the form that we know it today. So it's always fascinating to look at books like this and see how they hold up, because if they hold up well, then you know that it's some pretty solid information, because you can Google a lot of stuff these guys were writing about that they had to go to all kinds of research libraries to find out back then. It's also really worth looking into a lot of these cases that some of these guys like Mr. Lockwood covers and Tim Tate covers that have now been overturned. And it's interesting to go back and look at some of those the original case material that a lot of people have forgotten about and see how some of that stuff holds up now. And some of the cases that have been overturned, when you look at the original case material, you realize that shouldn't be overturned. Some of the stuff is solid. It was solid evidence then, it's solid evidence now. It's the attitudes that have changed that have made people think that these are the result of a satanic panic or whatever. But anyway, Mr. Lockwood does some great research in here. Again, following Tim Tate's book, as far as he gives a lot of good history and gets into, now he is I believe he is an author here from the United States. A lot of the cases he talks about are in California. And one of the really useful things in here is, in the end, and again, very well sourced. Anytime I get a book like this, first thing I do is start looking in the bibliography and see what else is there. One of the things he shows is the excavation at McMartin Preschool where the tunnels were found, which pictures of that are really hard to find. So, of course, there's our buddy Ted Gunderson there poking around. Also, this is interesting, where he has a photograph that was from an investigator that found at one of somebody had, I think he tells how they got their hands on this, but this is some kind of electroshock, a homemade electroshock device that was used in shock torture to initiate multiple personalities. So some interesting pictures in here. And also the list of prosecutions. This is really fascinating because, again, always good to look back on these cases and see where some of these people are now and, if any of these have been overturned and why. But anyway, he has convictions right up until April of 1992, obviously, before this book was published. So some really good resources there. But The best thing about it is very well sourced, very good bibliography in this, a lot of good information. This is definitely one of those that I've gone back to again and again, and this is another one of those because it does list some really good case specifics. It's a good one to keep handy, and as you can see, I've dog-eared it quite a bit. But anyway, Other Altars by Craig Lockwood, and of course the altars is a play on altar. But anyway, Roots and Realities of Cultic and Satanic Ritual Abuse and Multiple Personality Disorder. Really good information in this. Again, this is one of those that I would highly recommend if you can find it. Not terribly expensive, not like trying to find some of the other weirder ones I've had on this, but this is a good one. So there you go.